The growth of the Internet of Things is progressing unrelentingly and exponentially without regard for the fact that there's no reliable security architecture available for it yet. In our literature review paper, we analyzed 22 proposals for intrusion detection systems meant to secure the vulnerabilities inherent to this medium, or at least provide a framework in which that might be possible. In this presentation, we will first define the unique problems facing this area of research, then discuss the state of the literature, and finally identify gaps in the literature and opportunities for future research. Because of the nature of this platform, which includes such devices as thermostats, video cameras, card readers, smoke alarms, traffic counters, smart meters, and wearable health monitors, end nodes are extremely resource constrained in terms of computing power, memory, and electricity. As a result of these limitations, security researchers have had to get creative with how to deploy systems for intercepting and analyzing network traffic to detect erroneous or malicious activity. We classified their strategies by where they placed the intrusion detection system in the network and by the detection methods that they utilized. With few exceptions, all of the proposed systems fell into the placement categories of centralized, distributed, or hybrid. By centralized, we mean that the detection and analysis of traffic throughout the device network occurs principally on just one or a handful of nodes, typically either edge nodes or fog nodes. By distributed, we mean that the detection and analysis of traffic occurs on all of the end nodes. And a hybrid strategy is one where some of the detection and analysis happens on end nodes, and some of it's handled on an edge node or other centralized node with some manner of coordination between them. Likewise, all of the proposed systems fell into the detection categories of signature-based, anomaly-based, or hybrid. By signature-based, we mean that the traffic patterns are compared to predefined attack patterns in a collection of rules. By anomaly-based, we mean that the traffic is compared to a baseline of normal activity in order to identify uncharacteristic behavior. There were some clear preferences in regard to which strategies most researchers favored. At first blush, these preferences make intuitive sense. End nodes being the most resource-constrained part of an IoT network, distributed strategies tended to rely on one simple detection method. And edge nodes or fog nodes being considerably more powerful, the heavier weight detection methods and hybrid detection methods typically favored decentralized placement. In the more complicated strategies, these two intuitive combinations were often layered to complement each other. Based on experiential biases, we would expect these selections to be reasonable. However, an important gap in the research is the need for a systematic analysis of which strategies are actually superior, not just on a detection accuracy or speed basis, but on the resource utilization basis as well. Very few of the papers we reviewed attempted to quantify the impact on system load, latency, and energy usage as a result of running their software solution. And partly as a result of that, researchers did not consider the possibility that the unintuitive strategies could turn out to be the superior ones. Not a single paper we reviewed considered a distributed strategy with a hybrid signature anomaly detection method, even though such a system could be both lightweight and efficient if the signatures are used to significantly trim the data needed to check for anomalies. On the other end of the spectrum, no research we could find considered a centralized signature-only system, even though comprehensive cloud-hosted signature databases would presumably be relatively easy to access from a centralized node. If these underrepresented areas could be explored and all the different strategies thoroughly compared on a resource utilization basis, we might be surprised to learn which methods actually come out on top. We also found a few of the ideas presented in some of these papers should warrant further research. These encompass strategies that partly fall outside of our classification system. The use of honeypots was discussed by two of the papers that we reviewed. Honeypots are an effective security device in that not only do they protect the legitimate hosts on the network by diverting attacks, but they also record valuable information that can be used to train the machine learning anomaly-based detection algorithms that so many researchers prefer. And this really addresses a weakness that's not really discussed in these systems. Anomaly-based machine learning type strategies, they need to be continually trained. Unless there's some method to keep identifying false positives and false negatives and retraining on them every time, these systems will tend to perform worse over time. A honeypot is a method of automatically training without having to have a human supervisor because there's no legitimate traffic that should be hitting the honeypot. So any traffic that does hit the honeypot can be used to train these anomaly systems. As previously mentioned, if any researchers wanted to consider a centralized signature-based IDS, something that none of the papers that we reviewed had done, then accessing a comprehensive, up-to-date, cloud-based signature database might be a winning strategy. Such a database could leverage the shared experience of networks all around the globe to inoculate each other against known attacks. While signature-based systems may be vulnerable to zero-day attacks, they're much more adept at identifying the complex, harder-to-decipher attacks, such as from advanced persistent threats, which anomaly-based systems might miss in the noise. Another interesting method that we saw employed in one of the papers was the use of a physically mobile node that could actually move around the IoT network, pinging all of the nodes from different logical directions to ensure that they were complying with the traffic forwarding protocols. This really deserves significantly more attention. Probably multiple strategies could be developed for mobile nodes, both for different environments and to find the optimal methods of using mobile nodes. We also saw the use of a firewall mentioned in one of the papers. This really seems like a no-brainer addition to any IoT intrusion detection system, because it's a way of reducing the total load on the system. Once a local node or remote host begins misbehaving in some way, then that address can be added to a lightweight firewall or block list, which then gets shared to all the nodes, and then all the nodes can simply drop the malicious traffic instead of analyzing it every time. So really, I think a firewall ought to be added to almost any intrusion detection system on the Internet of Things. We also saw the utilization of hardware instead of software mentioned in at least one of the papers. And this is another topic that really needs to be further researched, because the concept of hardware implementation instead of software implementation, if the hardware can perform encryption or machine learning and can be standardized and implemented cheaply in a communication chip for IoT devices, then it could lead to a much more robust method of authenticating end nodes and tracking end node neighbors and performing anomaly detection. Considering the resource constraints otherwise present in these devices, mass-producing IoT chips capable of these functions in hardware would really go a long way to making all these strategies much more feasible.
There are many potential uses for the Internet of Things, but many of them require a secure network to prevent the loss of data. One of those uses is the development of a secure connected health system. This type of system could be used to monitor patients more regularly and to allow first responders to be notified quickly to issues. However, connected health is only possible if it can be done securely. Due to the health information that could be obtained, it's imperative that intrusion detection and other security measures are included and utilized. Several of the concepts from papers we reviewed will be good starting points for development of a secure connected health system. For example, the idea of utilizing hardware instead of software would lend itself well to a connected health system, as a hardware solution should be more difficult to hack and would allow better authentication of devices. Additionally, the utilization of a firewall that could be updated based on the intrusion detection system would be an excellent idea for a secure connected health system, because the firewall could automatically be updated to block traffic or nodes that are determined to be malicious. The implementation of a secure connected health system is meaningful to our group for several reasons. One, it would provide peace of mind that our older relatives will be able to obtain the help that they need. Additionally, the connected health system could be used to detect health concerns early, allowing ourselves and others to obtain treatment and continue living a healthy life. Another potential research goal that IoT could allow implementation of is smart cities. Smart cities typically include traffic monitoring and control, smart grids and utilities, environmental monitoring, and public safety improvements. These items combine to save time and money, as well as decreasing pollution and improving public safety. Specifically, smart grids allow for more efficient transmission of electricity and better integration of customer-owned power generating systems. Meanwhile, traffic monitoring and control often includes adaptive traffic signals and autonomous vehicle technology. However, these two items can result in significant security concerns. If the IoT networks in smart cities aren't secured, hackers could potentially cause traffic accidents by interfering with adaptive signals in autonomous vehicles. Similarly, hackers could use an unsecured IoT network to gain access to the electric grid, and possibly access power-generating facilities to cause even worse damage. Inclusion of intrusion detection for smart cities could help minimize the damage, or entirely prevent these occurrences. Specifically, the use of honeypots, as discussed in several of the papers researched, could limit the damage from hackers, while still providing an opportunity to learn from the attack and better train the intrusion detection system to prevent the attack from being successful in the future. Firewalls would allow malicious activity to be blocked entirely, saving precious resources for IoT devices and increasing the security of the network. Finally, hardware-implemented encryption is necessary in order to ensure the privacy of individuals in a smart city, because it would prevent both criminals and the government from monitoring and tracking the individual's activities. The importance of this goal to our group includes his selfish desire to decrease commute times. However, the more charitable benefit of this and other outcomes of implementing smart cities includes improvements to the environmental impact of cities.